very much, Coach Brown, for that very kind introduction. And Coach Taft, thank you so very much. It's a great privilege and pleasure for me to be here with you all today. You know, growing up in Norman, Oklahoma, my hometown, it was really a lot of fun because my dad's football teams were winning most all the time. They had that great 31-game winning streak followed by a 47-game winning streak, which is still an NCAA all-time record. But because of this great success, a number of coaches throughout the country would travel to Norman to observe spring football practice, to find out how they were doing things at Oklahoma. And on one occasion, Coach Woody Hayes, the renowned coach of the Ohio State University, came by our home, and he learned that my older brother, Pat, was co-valedictorian of his high school class. Well, Coach Hayes had a deep reverence and a respect for education. So the first thing he did when he returned to his home in Columbus, Ohio, was to go into his son Steve's room to demand, "Why can't you make straight A's in school like Coach Wilkinson's oldest son, Pat?" To which his son Steve replied, "Dad, I'll start making straight A's in school when you win 47 straight games in a row." It's a true story. My football coach at Duke was Bill Murray, who later became the executive director of this great association. And one year, Coach Murray had hired an assistant coach, and they were talking about recruiting. And the assistant said, "Well, what kind of players are we looking for, Coach?" And he said, "Well, look at it this way. You know, you're out on the football field, a player gets knocked down, but he jumps up, he's ready to go again. And a few minutes later, a second player gets knocked down, but he arises very quickly also, he's back in the game. And then a third player gets knocked down, and he's jumping up again." And the assistant coach got very excited, and he said, "Coach, I know exactly what you mean. We're looking for those players who have got tenacity and perseverance and heart." And he looked at him and he said, "No, that's not who we're looking for. We're looking for the guy who's knocking everybody down." I'm sitting at Coach Mac Brown's table, and I know that he and I have both enjoyed Willie Nelson through the years. And one of my favorite songs that Willie Nelson sang was, "My heroes have always been cowboys." And I've noticed through the years that as I've heard that song and I've kind of hummed along, I've always kind of said to myself, my heroes have always been football coaches. And the reason for that, of course, is it was my father's profession. I obviously got to know all of his assistant coaches very well, but I also knew from personal experience the great influence that my junior high and high school and college coaches had, not only on me, but on all of my teammates. And I also agree with what the Reverend Dr. Billy Graham said when he said, "One coach will influence more young people in a year than the average person will do in a lifetime." And I know that's true because you meet young people at such an influential and an impressionable time. You're so very important to their growth and development. So I thank you, I salute you, and I commend you for being in such a very important profession.